Hey everybody, welcome back to the Bourbon Note. I'm Greg.
I'm Ben.
And today, it's Whatever Wednesday. So I think this qualifies as a whatever. Tell everyone what we're looking at here.
It really does. So let's just bring this in. This is BAM, Beam's 8-star Kentucky whiskey, a blend.
A blend.
So you notice right off the bat, it says Beam's 8-star.
Mm-hmm. This is from the Jim Beam Distillery.
It is, but it's kind of weird. So, like if you go on their website, you're not going to find this. I don't know if they make it anymore. We were just talking about
There's
that.
a possibility this was found on a liquor store. Well, you just got it a couple weeks ago.
I did, yeah.
It may have been sitting there a while.
So,
lost in the back or something.
This is kind of like, you know, the age-old story. Guy with a family goes on a business trip.
Don't know this story.
Gets somebody pregnant.
Oh.
And then for the rest of his life, he's got like this low-key kid on the side that he just sends money to every once in a while, but never really acknowledges it.
Don't understand where we're going with this story.
That's kind of what this bottle seems to be to Jim Beam. This is like the bastard son they just don't ever,
there we go.
You know. And then the guy needs a kidney one day. And his existing kids that are in his life for some reason can't. Then he's got to make that awkward phone call.
With the exact blood type.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what, like if Jim Beam ever needs a kidney,
this is the donor.
As a distillery, this is the donor, if that makes sense. So
no, it doesn't.
Basically, bastard child of the Jim Beam family. So anyway, what this is,
let's explain.
Is it's not a bourbon, it's a blend, and it is 80 proof. And where does it say the, it said 2 years old.
Minimum 2, yeah.
20% straight whiskeys. So I don't know what, could be rye and bourbons.
Well, I think it's probably like pretty generic Jim Beam bourbon, except it's in a used cask, so they can't call it bourbon legally.
Or maybe it's not aged to a bourbon, so it's just a whiskey. Maybe it's just a, you know.
It's something, yeah.
So it says 80% grain neutral spirits, 20% straight whiskeys, 2 years or more old. So we're bottoming out at least 2 years here.
So it's essentially 80% vodka, which vodka sucks.
Yes.
And 20% very young bourbon-y type whiskey.
So here's the thing.
I have really high hopes for this.
Neutral grain spirits, according to MGP's website, is basically a spirit. They put it in a separate category from vodka, but for all intents and purposes, it's basically the same. It's an unaged high.
It's where vodka wants to be someday.
Yeah. So neutral grain spirits, apparently they distill at a minimum of like 100 and
they cook everything
proof.
out of it. Yeah, there's no enzymes left.
Yeah, so they bake all the flavor out of it basically, and then distill it way back down. So I'm guessing that produces a ton of, and then for some reason they're like, well, let's throw some whiskey in here. And what if they age the neutral grain spirit with the whiskey? I wonder if that's aged the 2 years, or just the whiskeys are aged 2 years and then blended.
I think it's young.
But think of it, if that's an unaged, 80% unaged clear spirit in a 20% 2 year, I wonder if they're aging the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm okay with stalling because I'm.
It's actually not terribly offensive on the nose.
Reasonable chance one of us goes blind drinking this.
Yeah, that's true. By the way, so this bottle is weird. I have never seen this on the shelf before.
It's hard to find online.
Exactly. So I don't know if this is just old or whatever, but I picked this up in Melrose at Spirits Liquor, which if you live in Minnesota, check out Spirits Liquor. It's like a bourbon oasis.
It is.
In central Minnesota.
It's a long ways away from everything, but they've got a great selection.
So I mean, they don't have just weird stuff like this.
Exactly. They have,
you know, but they've got, their shelves are full. It's maybe the biggest selection of bourbon I've seen.
Yeah, I agree.
So anyway, shout out to them. So let's go in for it's just kind of caramely and
just ethanol, like. I don't know, I'm not getting a lot. There's a little bit of like the bourbon-y kind of notes, a little bit of vanilla and caramel, but it's super light, hiding behind.
I do have to say, I think there's a little bit more of that than I was expecting at the 20%.
Yep.
All right, let's go in. There's no sense in dragging this out with in-depth tasting notes.
I have to say, I wanted to hate this.
Yeah. For what it is, that's not nearly as offensive as I thought it was going to be. It's just caramel.
It's caramel. It's
Caramel
a
and water.
little almond.
A little
It's
powdered sugar, actually.
It's watery because it kind of like it's over, like they proofed it down too far, but it's got okay flavors. Like I saw a lot of people online would refer to this as something you mix with Coke.
Nope, the second sip got worse.
Oh, well, that's exciting.
Yeah, let it rip, give her a whirl.
I kind of like where I'm at right now.
The second sip had a little bit of that sour.
Yeah.
Maybe sip number 3 will be just the sweet spot in between horrible and decent.
Maybe like unripe apple. It's got some light fruit. It's got some interesting flavors. It is not as horrible as I thought. I think it's pretty light. There's a flavor that I don't care for, that I only can assume is the kind of the overriding ethanol.
Just the basic
kind of
ethanol flavor of that.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's kind of like, I don't know, rubbing alcohol or something like what you would assume rubbing alcohol tastes like. Not that I've actually sipped on it.
Don't recommend doing that.
Don't do that.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. I want to say that I've had like really cheap 80 proof bourbons that have been kind of in the same ballpark of flavor. So I'm kind of shocked that with it only being 20% whiskey, I really think that they're mixing those distillates and aging
it
that.
seems like it, because they're actually, it tastes like it's a bit aged.
There's more flavor. If you put just an 80 proof vodka,
Yep.
80 to 20 ratio, you're not going to get those flavors.
It's super watered down.
It's basically a watered down 2-year whiskey. So, I mean,
But it actually has some good flavors. They probably don't make it anymore, and so it's impossible for us to recommend and have anyone go buy it, but the reality is it's not the worst thing I've ever had.
no, I mean, if I needed a kidney, I'd call that after 20 years of radio silence.
That's the standard they're going for.
So, since we're drinking stuff that we already thought was gonna be bad, and then turned out this is not good. Don't mistake our kindness for that, but you know what? You could put that in a whiskey Coke and be fine.
You could. You're probably not going to serve it to a whiskey. Well, you would serve it to a whiskey geek and say, "What do you think of this?"
Just for the novelty of it, and that's
Novelty.
why I bought it. This was $9 for the liter.
Yeah.
So I guess when you distill to 195 proof with the majority of your
Yeah.
distillate that's in there, and then proof it back down to 80, that you really get a lot of product out of that.
I guess so.
On the other hand, I don't know why this was ever a thing.
I don't know what the motivation was because,
It's kind of weird that this even exists.
agreed.
Like, you're doing just fine with the Jim Beam white label.
Yeah.
And, to the best of my knowledge, there wasn't a big shortage of that. So, all right. So I've got another whiskey on the shelf here that we figured we'd throw into this one because it might be a little more of a regional one. So if you're not from the Minnesota, North Dakota area, I don't know if you can find this at all, but I heard it's bad.
That's a good way to start the review.
Yeah.
Kind of a glass.
But I already do have,
I'll use this one.
this is, I get this one
Okay,
out
okay,
for the-
that'll work.
I already do have low expectations, and so since we just had low expectations on that one, let's bring this one in. This is, bam, Glen Fargo American Malt Whiskey.
This is from Fargo, North Dakota.
Yes, and so this is, well, at least from North Dakota. I mean, maybe Glen Fargo is just the thing. So it's aged 2 years, 93.2 proof.
That's
American
good proof.
single malt from North Dakota's first whiskey distillery since
this is
Prohibition.
a single malt.
Yeah.
This is
And it's
basically Scotch.
a double-barreled single malt. And
This
I've
is
heard
Balvenie double
yeah,
oak.
I'm sure it's gonna
12 year.
Yeah.
Is shaking, scared. I think.
Well, I would imagine, yeah. I mean, this seems like a banger. Bottle number 68-120.
So we don't know a lot about it.
I can do this.
Yep. Everyone enjoys this part of the video.
Why does this only happen on camera? You witnessed this the other day. We had a new bottle, and I was just like, oh,
It was easy.
the plastic came right off. It's just, I always get the bad plastic when we're on camera.
Kind of like Pop Rocks. Oh, that was nice.
That was a solid cork pop.
Artificial cork stopper, but probably makes a better seal than a 10,000-year-old tree or whatever they are.
Sure. Nice color on there. You can see the double. For 2 years, you can definitely get the double barrel.
I have high hopes for this one. I'd read the information on the back, but it's way too small to read. It is from Fargo, North Dakota, by the way.
Oh, okay. Ooh, it's apples and cinnamon.
Oh, if this is single malt, I mean, we would expect more of that style.
Yeah, that light fruit that I always get on single
Yeah,
malts.
Oh, there it is. Kind of that toasted almond and apple.
Finished in used bourbon barrels.
Ah, this should be good.
But that has some tasting notes on there, so I'm not going to read them.
Okay.
Just because I don't want to be influenced. But yeah, like kind of an apple cinnamon nose.
Yeah. It's a toaster strudel.
Yeah, kind of.
It's
All
like
right,
That's a fancy Pop-Tart.
It is. Those I actually like. Pop-Tarts can off, but toaster strudels are... I'll do some damage on a toaster strudel. All right, let's go in.
All right, I'm
it.
interested. This is, I think, malted barley. Yeah, pretty traditional at this point.
So, I wonder if you just like bourbon and you have this, you're not gonna like it. But as far as a single malt goes,
This reminds me a lot, and now we're gonna go down the rabbit hole of other single malts from America.
right? I should qualify. If you like single malts, doesn't mean you're gonna like this, because if you like single malts, that could be a wide variety
that's
of
true.
single malt scotches and stuff that obviously get much higher quality.
But we
than
should
this.
probably,
But if you like the malted barley profile, how about
So
that?
this drink's like an American single malt, and there's a couple kind of more famous, recently
Sure.
produced distilleries. This is really good. I'm shocked that, I mean, I guess as someone who doesn't like single malts, or at least something about this.
Yeah, I wonder if
it's
that was
fruity.
the case.
It's fruity, it's very light floral, a lot of apple cinnamon notes.
Yeah, I don't think it's terrible, but it's
think
definitely got the apple cinnamon. The
I really, really like it.
yeah, I think the bourbon cask comes through on it. The bourbon cask finish.
It does, it has some kind
Now,
of like some wood notes at the end.
Here's the thing. To the best of my knowledge, I got this bottle for free, but to the best of my knowledge, this is like 70, 80 bucks. Now, when that comes in, absolutely not worth it. Not even close.
There's a lot of competition that...
in the $30 to $40
well,
range.
no, in the single malt, there's not as much competition.
No, but I mean, like, say, like a Stranahan's or something
yeah.
like that. I mean, this has a little bite to it that I like. It's got that kind of cinnamon note that I don't usually get out of a single malt. But that may be the bourbon cask. But then again, Stranahan's is actually aged in new charred barrels, just like bourbon is. So
Right.
maybe that's why that's got those nice flavors too. But yeah, I wouldn't pay that money for this ever. But for what it is, I don't think it's that bad.
I disagree. I genuinely like this.
But you would pay 80 bucks for it?
I would want to do some research and understand if it's a super tiny distillery in Fargo that I could go visit. I'm interested. Like, I like this a lot. I think it's, if you're here because of bourbon, it's not a bourbon.
Yeah, if you just like bourbon, then this is going to be.
But if you like Scotch, maybe like Highland Scotches, like the Macallans and
Yeah, if you like that malted barley
Yep.
flavor profile.
Yep. This is that turned not up to 11 and not,
It's turned in a little different direction.
it's a different, yeah, it's
Yeah.
the fruity, really green apple kind of note, which is not a good name for a channel, but
If you're reviewing green apples, it's a fantastic name for the channel.
all right, Granny.
I like the nose a little bit better than the palate, but
It has a, okay, so I mentioned in some other reviews, there are certain things, whether it's a food or a whiskey or whatever, that you like it, but that you get to a point where you're done. Mm-hmm. I know that by the time I'm done with this glass, I'll be done.
yeah, you don't want another pour
Exactly,
of it.
I won't.
Whereas bourbon, set them up, knock them down all night long.
Exactly. So I like this a lot. I'm gonna do some research on the distillery. I'm in North Dakota occasionally, and so may try to visit if they have a public visiting location.
Yeah, I was told it was terrible, so that was a good setup to just kind of have low expectations. But yeah, I don't hate that. But yeah, it's definitely a different flavor profile for sure.
Totally.
So if you're not into the malted barley thing, you're probably not going to like it. But I don't know. So it's two that I would say I wouldn't recommend you go out and buy. Like I said, this one for the price is just, if this is priced like a Stranahan's, in that $30 to $40 range, then I would say maybe. If you want to just explore a different kind of flavor profile.
Yep.
Interesting mouthfeel to it. Mm-hmm. I also burnt my mouth on a party pizza, so that could be why I'm feeling that a little bit extra.
Don't know what a party pizza is.
A Totino's party pizza. Are you serious?
I know what Totino. It's so a frozen pizza.
Yeah.
So what's the party have to do with it?
Well, it's like a party in your mouth, and I don't know. I guess that's what they were going for.
It's a pizza.
It sounds bad.
Frozen pizza.
Yeah, it's really good. Totino's party pizzas. Who doesn't love that?
I know them as frozen pizzas.
All right. So anyway, before we get into reviewing pizzas here, I wouldn't recommend anybody go out and buy the Beam 8 Star.
If you could find it, to be honest, it is a bit
for $9.
It's
Yeah,
a
I mean,
bit of a unicorn.
You could maybe pour that for somebody and not tell them what it is and just pretend like it's something awesome. Like
Otherwise,
everybody in the room is in on it, and then you have that one guy over and you pour it on. Like everybody's like, "Oh my God, yeah, I'm getting all these great notes," and see if he just kind of goes along.
It's
with
the
it.
next Blanton's.
Yeah, exactly.
Just hunt for it everywhere.
So yeah, well, this has been a couple of just completely random whatever product on whatever Wednesday on the Bourbon Note. I'm Ben.
I'm Greg. Cheers.